Welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going through Form 3 Mathematics under the graphical solution of quadratic equations. And the first part of the question reads, construct a table for the function y is equal to x squared minus x minus 6 for the range of the values of x between -3 and +4 for you to earn 2 marks. We have been given a table having the values of x, and we are required to fill the table by getting the values of y. So to get the values of y, we take the values of x and substitute them in the main function. The first value of x is -3. So anytime we are using a calculator, make sure you employ the use of brackets. X is -3, we open the bracket. -3, we close the bracket. X being -3, x is squared, so we square, minus, open the bracket, the value of x is still -3, close the bracket, then -6, and the answer is going to be +6. And when the value of x is -2, we open the bracket, -2 we square, minus, open the bracket, the value of x is -2, close the bracket, then -6, and the value of y is 0. When the value of x is 1, the value of y is going to be equal to, we have -1 squared minus into brackets -1, close the bracket, -6, and the value of x, the value of y when x is -1 will be equal to -4. From there, x is 0, so we take 0 squared minus the value of 0, minus the value of x, which is 0, then -6, and the value of y when x is 0 is -6. And when x is +1, so it will be 1 squared, which is 1 minus 1, and that gives us 0. 0 minus 6 will give us -6. When the value of x is 2 positive, so we will be having 2 squared, which is 4, minus the value of x, which is 2 minus 6, and the value of y when x is +2 will be equal to -4. And when x is 3, we are going to have 3 squared, which is 9, minus the value of x, which is 3, -6, and the value of y when x is 3 will be 0. And when x is 4, we are going to have 4 squared, which is 16, minus the value of x, which is 4. That will give us 12. 12 minus 6, you get 6. And by so doing, you have now completed that table very, very well. Having completed the table, now we move down and work on part B. Part B of the question says, on the grid provided, draw the graph of the function y is equal to x squared minus x minus 6 for the range of the values of x between -3 and +4 for us to get those 5 marks. We have the y-axis, and the horizontal represents the x-axis. The highest value of x is 4 to the right, and also -3 to the left, and therefore, if this is our 0 here, we are going to use 1 centimeter to represent 1 unit. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then on the left side, we are going to have -1, -2, -3, -4, and even -5. Then along the y-axis, the highest value towards the positive is 6. And if we use a scale of 2, we are going to have 2, then 4, 6, and of course 8. Then on the negative part, we are going to begin with -2, -4, -6, and here is -8. Once we have done that, We can now plot our graph without any problem. And we know when the value of x is -3, y is 6. X is -3 at this point, y is +6, so we move up until we see +6, and this will be our first point. And when the value of x is -2, x is -2 at this point, and y is 0, so it remains at this particular point. And when the value of x is -1, x is -1 at this point, y is -4, so we go to -1, then we move down to where we have y being -4. Then when the value of x is 0, y is -6, x is 0 at this point, then we move down to where y is -6, we mark off that point. And when the value of x is +1 here, the value of y is going to be equal to -6, sorry. And when x is 2, y is -4. X is 2, y is -4 at this point. And when x is +3, y is 0. And when x is +4, y is +6. And by so doing, you have plotted all these particular points very well. Now, when you look at this particular question, you realize our curve is going to turn at this particular point. So let us try joining these points and see where our curve is going to turn. So we come down. We join all these plotted points like this, using a smooth curve. So we are not supposed to complete here. We can still take it from this particular point here. But you realize our curve is turning at this particular point, so we cannot simply draw a straight line since it's a curve. And therefore, we know at the turning point of a curve, the gradient function of that curve is equal to 0. So we know the function we have is y is equal to x squared minus x minus 6, and at turning points, we know that dy over dx is going to be equal to 0. So we have to differentiate this function, and if you differentiate this function, we are going to have 2x minus 1, and this one will be equal to 0. From there, x will be equal to +1. That is, x will be equal to +half. Once we have x as +half, we will now get the value of y, and to get the value of y, we are going to take the value of x and substitute it back. So we have half squared minus the value of x, which is half, then of course minus 6, and if you work out this one, it is going to give you 6 1/4. So when x is 0.5 or half, y is 6 1/4, and in this case, this is 6 1/4 is somewhere here, and therefore now we can join this particular point here. It is always important to note that for you to score your full marks, you must always plot this point where the curve is turning. So we have to name our function or our curve where y is equal to x squared minus x minus 6, and by so doing now, you have done part B of the question very well. Going to part C, by drawing a suitable line graph on the grid, estimate the roots of the equation x squared plus 2x minus 2 is equal to 0. And in this case, we usually use the main function, and the main function is y is equal to x squared minus x minus 6. Then we subtract the question or the graph that we are supposed to solve. Now if we take this function that we are supposed to solve, we have x squared plus 2x minus 2 is equal to 0. We subtract the two equations. Y minus 0 will be y, which is equivalent to x minus x will be 0, so we will be having minus x minus +2x, which gives us minus 3x. Then minus 6 minus minus 2, you get minus 4. Once we have this function once we have this linear function, we are going to make a table having the values of x and y, and we only need like 2 points. The values of x are going to be assumed, and if we assume the value of x being 0, then substitute the value of x here. We shall be having minus 3 times 0, which is 0. 0 minus 4, we are going to have negative 4. Then if we assume the value of x, for example, to be negative 1, we are going to have negative 3 times negative 1, which is positive 3. Positive 3 minus 4, you get negative 1. Those 2 points are enough, and now we take them and represent them graphically. And when the value of x is 0 here, y is negative 4 at this particular point. And when the value of x is negative 1, x is negative 1 at this point, y is also negative 1, which is at this particular point here. So once we have these 2 points, we can join them. We can join these 2 points. Make sure you draw a line that is going to bisect this curve at any 2 points. This is our curve, and the line we have here is y is equal to minus 3x minus 4. Once we have done that, we are supposed to get the roots of this particular equation, and we need to get the roots from the point where the two curves intersect each other. And at this particular point, we go to where the two curves intersect. We draw a broken line towards the x-axis, such that the first value of x here is going to be equal to around 2.9 negative. Another value of x will come from where this other line intersects with the curve. So we go to that particular point, and then we draw a broken line towards the x-axis for us to be able to pick that particular solution from there. And in this case, you realize our x again is going to be 0.9. By so doing, now you'd have estimated the roots of this particular function very well. Thank you for watching, and welcome to the channel.